One day I was looking through a magazine and I opened it up and there happened to be a double-page spread of some of the most incredible photos that I'd ever seen. And it turned out to be an article about a new camera that had just come out in 1981 called the Globuscope. It's an American-made camera, and the images were just fascinating. When the camera was originally introduced, they got a lot of press because at that time it was really a breakthrough type camera. It was a camera that, unlike other panoramic or rotational 360 type cameras, it kind of broke all the rules. It was the world's first hand-holdable 360-degree camera. So that gave you the added mobility. It was a camera that weighed only 3.5 pounds, so you could throw it in a backpack and off you go, compared to most of these cameras that require large tripods and weigh a ton. And so when this camera came out, it was just really a breakthrough invention. For many years, people in 360-degree photography had equipment, much like I have the Globuscope, and we were making nice, long, skinny prints. And with the advent of QuickTime VR and other virtual reality imaging programs, it's breathed new life into what you can do with these types of images. Whenever you're thinking of photography, and we're always used to seeing a snapshot, which is essentially a square, and we're only seeing part of that view. But with 360, we're seeing all around. So you're seeing what's behind me, you're seeing what's in front of me, what's on each side of me. And that, I think, is what is exciting to me about 360-degree photography. When I come back home and I show you this picture and share it with you, I'm not sharing just a little portion of it, I'm sharing all of it. So in 1986, I finally get the camera of my dreams, go on the trip of my dreams to Machu Picchu, and create what I think is a spectacular image to share. Well, I think that the Machu Picchu is really one of my signature shots. It's the shot that a lot of people know me for. Part of it, of course, is since it is one of my first shots, obviously there's a very sentimental value to that image. But it's also a great shot because what it does is it takes you to Machu Picchu. It shows you everything of Machu Picchu in one image. It shows you Huayna Picchu, it shows you Machu Picchu, the mountain, it shows you the residential sector, and you can even see the switchbacks that lead up to the entrance of Machu Picchu, all in the same image. So when I show that to people, I can give you an incredible tour of Machu Picchu in one photograph. I found the camera, and then I started taking images that I thought added a huge value to what we had seen before, and then started to really travel. And that's what gave me a boost of inspiration to start getting out in the world and really covering it and taking these types of 360 images. And then just ran with it. I mean, I never set out to create a gigantic library of images. Part of it was just done for fun. Part of it was done because they were stunning images. They were beautiful images. They were images that we don't ordinarily see. Now I have over 100,000 images from 120 plus countries, all 7 continents, including both North and South poles. And it just started out by accident. I just started shooting these pictures. One day I woke up and I basically had an image library. I'm creating the world's first interactive 360-degree world atlas. You know, so often you pick up a world atlas and it's just a series of maps. And the map of the United States has a dot for Washington, D.C., and it has a dot for New York. And all the dots look exactly the same. With the 360-degree world atlas, you'll be able to make virtual visits to over 1,000 places around the world and put a face on a place. A lot of my inspiration on the 360 World Atlas comes not just sharing the images, but the experience and taking people there with me. And when I look back at my travels through the Antarctic and a lot of places that people don't ordinarily go, I now have the way that I can bring the average person along on a trip with me. So they're now experiencing it through the same eyes that I experienced it through. And that is a large part of the inspiration of making this atlas work. I'm trying to finish this edition, this first edition of the 360-degree World Atlas. And I wanted to get a few shots that I think are integral to this edition. And so this is kind of like a quick mad dash around the world to take the last set of images for this edition. I think there's a magic to going around the world, traveling in one direction and never looking behind you, and completing this 360 of the globe. I'm going to start out in Tokyo, Japan, work my way to Hanoi, Vietnam, Delhi, India, with a side trip to the Agra and the Taj Mahal, then off to Vienna, Austria, Prague, Czech Republic, Belfast, Northern Ireland, London, England, New York City, and finally back home. This particular trip's going to be great fun because we're going to start out in Tokyo, and one of my goals is to go out to Mount Fuji. I've been there several times, and that beautiful 360-degree view of Mount Fuji has eluded me. I'm getting ready right now to shoot a transition VR. I'm starting with the night shot. I'm tripoding it, so when I come back tomorrow, I can get the exact same location and we can put two of the images on top of each other and compare the night and day at one of Tokyo's busiest intersections.
何撮ってるんですか?
Hi.
え?
The panoramic camera?
カメラ?
Yeah.
何撮ってるの? 人? People?
英語で話して英語で。
We were here last night shooting the night shot. We're here in the middle at noon shooting a day shot that will layer on top of each other so you can get an idea of what it's like when the neon is glowing at night and the bright bustling city during the day. We're looking at the giant Buddha at Kamakura. It's one of those symbols of Japan. It's a shrine for many visitors, many people on pilgrimage here.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Actually, the camera's underneath.
Oh, yeah.
And it takes film and you put it. Oh, cool. Turned out really well. The original great Buddha that stood on this site was actually made out of wood. It was built in 1238. Later it was destroyed by fire. The Buddha that we're looking at now is actually a cast bronze Buddha that dates back to 1495. This has become a shrine for visitors and pilgrims who make this trip to Kamakura to see one of the world's largest Buddhas. It also makes a great spot for a 360, surrounded by the beautiful gardens. The giant Buddha hovers above the crowd. And it's also fun, I think, seeing the people posing for pictures, which is so indicative of Japanese culture. And now with cell phones, people are taking even more photos. Part of today's journey took us to the Imperial Palace, to the East Wing Gardens, the only public spot of the Imperial Palace that's open to the general public. And of course the signature shot of the bridge, the double arched bridge at the main entrance to the Royal Palace. The stone walls of the Imperial Palace are immense. At one time they were used to protect one of the largest castles in the world. The castle's no longer there, and that area is filled with beautiful gardens, and it's kind of a nice respite from the busy hustle and bustle of Tokyo, kind of a nice park right in the middle of the city. Tokyo is one of the largest cities in the world and presents a great opportunity for 360 because there's always some level of action all around us. There's people, buildings, a lot of modern architecture here, mixed in with a few pockets of old architecture, old Tokyo, that make it a dynamic city. Hi. Hello. I'd like to have you do a picture of me, but like where I'm like standing and then different things from around the world. Like pyramids, like I'm holding the camera, and then like little world landmarks. Yeah, like where I'm holding the camera, okay? And then world landmarks. Thank you. Thank you. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you. Arigato. This is Golden Week in Japan. It's several days of a national holiday. Most of Tokyo shut down. All the people are out on holiday to places like Mount Fuji enjoying the great views. So the whole system is just overtaxed. All the sightseeing buses are full, and I'm just lucky I got a seat on a train to go out there tomorrow.
You want to go there by train?
Yeah. Can I buy the ticket right now?
Not here, at the JR station.
Well, sometimes things get lost in translation, and a person will tell you something and send you to a particular ticket booth or an office to find out more information, and they'll send you somewhere else. The people were very nice because they personally tried to escort you to the next station for help, but it kind of began to seem like it was a little bit of a runaround there for a bit. I am so glad that I've got train tickets to get to Mount Fuji tomorrow. I've traveled this far and I really don't want to miss it. I hope I can go home from this trip with a wonderful shot of Mount Fuji. Luckily, I found an English-speaking cab driver to take me around to a variety of scenic spots around Mount Fuji. And we're trying to get to as many spots before the train leaves at 3:30 this afternoon. Well, it's the cherry blossoms are just ending, and when we think of Japan, it seems like we always think of cherry blossoms, and they're beautiful. I remember reading about Mount Fuji in the 2nd grade, and now that I think about it, it was the first world landmark that I can really remember reading the history about. So it's really exciting to come out here and actually see it again. Between clouds and snow and rain, I have finally found a day where I can enjoy the spectacular views of Mount Fuji. We're just outside of Tokyo, and yet it seems like a world away because of language barriers. Just getting out here sometimes is a great feat. And of course, getting out here with the great weather where you can actually see the mountain. This is my 4th trip, and I've finally been able to see the mountain and get that 360 shot after all. So I do think mission accomplished. Do you speak English?
Okay.
Good? English?
Very nice.
Very good English?
Yeah.
How much per hour? About how much?
갔다가 오면은
I thought we're looking at like 42,000. They're talking 90,000. This seems like ridiculous. $200 for 4 hours.
Okay. 서울 시티.
Seoul City. You gotta work for this one. I'm trying to get into Seoul right now. I've got a 5-hour layover, and I've just booked this cab for about 4 hours. So hopefully I'll be able to get into town, get some shots, and make it back out to the airport in time for the flight to Hanoi. This is some of the most clear weather I have seen in Seoul in a long time. I'm amazed by the clear skies. There are some clouds out, but they're just adding a little character to the landscape. Hi, it's a camera, panoramic camera. What's that?
What type?
It's a panoramic camera. Let me give you something. Here's a sample and the information for you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. When crossing the street in Vietnam, you just have to go extra slow so that the other cars can see you. Unlike America, where I would probably be trying to run across this street. If I just go slow, they'll be able to steer around me. And I'll make it across safely. Kind of goes against everything of your basic instincts from childhood, but that's how they do it here. It's actually great fun being in the middle of this, seeing the people go by on these motorbikes.
Không ạ, bây giờ chị muốn quay ở trong phạm vi lăng này thì chị phải xin giấy. Có nghĩa liên hệ với cả ban quản lý viếng thì chị ra kiểm tra an ninh, nhưng mà hôm nay là nghỉ viếng. Chị phải liên hệ với cả bộ của nước lăng.
Boy, the light is great for this. Just trying to get some symmetry here with these lines of these lampposts. Should provide for an interesting shot with the lines going in and out. My guide was just telling me about the one-pillar pagoda. It was originally built in the year 1049, and it was destroyed by the French during 1946 through 1949. And this particular remnant that we see here was rebuilt in honor of the original in 1955. We've seen a woman come earlier today and make some offerings, generally large baskets of fruit. They also bring incense. I think sometimes we forget that these are actually places of worship and not just tourist sites. I just spent 3.5 hours on a drive out of Hanoi to get up to Ha Long Bay, to a jumping off point where I've rented this boat. It's going to take me out to get some panoramic views of the limestone islands that jut out of the sea. This area is a World Heritage Site and also very popular with tourists. We're going to also try to visit some caves this afternoon. Got some villagers over there trying to sell some fresh fruit to the passengers on board that boat. If we look at them too much, they'll be over here in about 2 minutes trying to sell that stuff. The cave was quite striking. They had put fluorescent lights all throughout it, colored lights. You know, we saw some of the formations. I was just amazed at the height of the ceiling of the cave. It was over 60 feet high and a large open area, almost like a giant cathedral inside. Got back on the ship and I'm now on about a 4.5-hour cruise through the bay looking at these large protrusions, these islands. These they're called limestone karsts. They're large rocks jutting out of the sea, and they provide some very fascinating views, especially in 360. And after the cruise, it'll be another 3.5 hour, maybe 4.5 hours with the crazy traffic in Hanoi to get back to the hotel. I'm working my way up the No Gom River right now. About to go through some caves. These caves are at the water's edge and twisting around underneath this large, massive rock entrance. That was quite a ride underneath a giant limestone mountain. Well, we finally found a refreshment stand. A little floating cornucopia of Vietnamese delights. With some pineapple, coconut, banana. How much is the little sampan?
$1.
$1? Sold. We got a little baby over here trying to take a nap in the midst of this commerce that's taking place here. I guess capitalism has finally arrived in Vietnam. Wow, look at this. You're never far from potato chips in Vietnam. That's the good news. I'd hate to damage any of the goods in this other boat. It could cost us a small fortune. maybe $1 million in Vietnamese. And that's just for the bananas. Now the real goal here is, whatever you do, don't make direct eye contact with any of these vendors, because if you do, it's just going to cost us more money. And if we hurry, we can still get out of here while we've got our wallets attached to us. The boat ride was just beautiful this morning. My guide suggested that we go on the boat earlier because of the possibility of rain. Part of me was saying take some pictures, wait and take some pictures on the way back and just enjoy the view. Sometimes that isn't a good practice in photography because you should take the shot when you have a chance to take it. And I shot a bunch going up the river, and right as we got to the very top and bought some souvenirs and started back down, the weather changed and a torrential downpour. And as you can see, several hours later, I'm still wet. They wouldn't let me bring my film bag. My Zero Halliburton with film on it, and they wouldn't let me bring my camera bag. I had to choose one or the other. Obviously, the camera bag is full of the panoramic cameras, which in a soft-sided backpack can't be checked in. And the film, of course, is going to go through an X-ray machine, which will probably damage the last 2 weeks of work that I've just done. Once I get to Delhi, I'm going to shoot a couple of rolls, select rolls from all the different bags of film. I've got 1600 high-speed film in there, so we'll go shoot a whole bunch of stuff and run and get it developed and just see if it turns out. And if it's all black, then half this trip has been lost. Finally found a Kodak Express lab here in downtown Delhi. So I'm going to wait, get this film developed, and hopefully the pictures will turn out. If they don't turn out, I got to go buy film and got to figure out a way out of this problem. Or maybe they'll turn out and they didn't get x-rayed by the big machine after all. So let's find out. It appears the 1600 film is good. You can see it, it just, part of it looks dark because I think we're in a dark area. At first I thought everything was fine, but as we looked at it, they started to think it's not quite as the color that it should be. So what I'm doing is I'm having a strip developed, printed, so that we can see what it looks like up close as a test, just to give an idea. Good, okay, good, we're set. Okay, thanks, we'll be back and we'll do some more test rolls. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye. It's a panoramic camera.
Panoramic camera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
takes 360-degree photos.
Yeah.
So as it spins around, it takes a photo.
Yeah.
So you get a picture 360 degrees.
360 degree, yeah.
You get everything.
Yeah.
It's always fun, you know, traveling with this camera and the people that come up and want to know what it is. And there's always that fun part whenever you pop off the top and they can see that it's a camera. Kind of catches them off guard. They suspect it's a camera, but they're oftentimes not sure. What happened was I have some of the film went through an X-ray machine, and right. And we told them we didn't want it to go through, and so
that's why you're getting developed, right?
Yeah. So one of those that I just gave you is through the X-ray, and one isn't. We bought those rolls of film from you earlier today.
Okay.
So I was just wondering if this looked like it was fogged up, or if it's just.
If it has been exposure through an X-ray,
Yeah.
the things would have been wiped off totally.
Totally. We wouldn't see this image at all.
Yeah.
So this film wasn't affected by the X-ray?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm overlooking Mahatma Gandhi's cremation site in the middle of downtown Delhi. Every day, pilgrims stream in and out to pay their respects. Yeah, there's a parking area right up there. Thank you. Bye-bye. Well, they're fixing the cyclos here. The little three-wheeled bikes that give rides. It looks like it's the Cyclo Repair Center. I think we found the pit stop row of Delhi. The whole world for sale on a sidewalk. Yeah, they've even got Polo Ralph Lauren. I don't think it's the real one, but it's been an ordeal getting to Agra. We started out in Delhi this morning at about 8:30. It was supposed to be 3.5 hours, we were told. It turned out to be about 5.5 hours of driving time to get down here. Luckily, we're at the Red Fort, which is just probably about 2 kilometers from the Taj Mahal. I could see it as I was walking in, but I'm just losing a whole bunch of time today due to the Indian bureaucracy. I guess part of the good news is we're getting all of this beautiful scenery over here, and last but not least, we're getting the public toilets off to the left. Well, there it is, the Taj Mahal. Almost from the other side of the river. This is looking from the Red Fort. It's amazing because as you see the Taj here, you're entering from the far right. But on the left side would have been a black Taj Mahal. It was Shah Jahan's son who stopped them from building an exact replica in black marble of the Taj on the other side of the river right here. Or today we'd be looking at two Taj Mahals, polar opposites, white and black, across the river. But it never happened. We're at Fatehpur Sikri. We're about 36 kilometers outside of Agra. And I'm going to continue to shoot some 360s before I get accosted by the next guide or jewelry salesman, whichever comes first. Oh no. That was actually the goal of coming up here, was to get up to that top point and shoot a 360. Well, when I was here last time, I made it up to the top, got a panoramic from up there, wanted to do another one. Well, it's kind of just a country of brick walls, you know, there's such incredible beauty here, and I realize that they want to preserve certain things, but, you know, this has been open, and it's kind of defeating trying to think that you want to show off the best of a country and you really can't go anywhere. And a lot of what I do, I don't want to keep asking for special permission. I want to show what regular people see so that if you ever go there, you're going to have the same experience. And now the same experience you're going to have is the same brick walls that I'm hitting and running into. Should have shot more stuff in India 20 years ago. It's kind of unfortunate coming back and remembering these places with a lot greater access. I know that they're worried about terrorists and people destroying the monument or having accidents, but there's something to be said about the public having some level of access and having a level of freedom to really enjoy spectacular sights. And that freedom is quickly eroding. The sun is starting to go down and I've got to hurry. I'm at the mosque outside Fatehpur Sikri. It's a panoramic camera.
All right. This is very old camera.
1981.
1981.
Yeah.
You do like this and one roll finish within.
Yeah. Use the whole roll.
Very expensive also.
Yeah, they don't make this camera anymore. It's a little hard to walk on this stone here. It's a little rocky. We need to hurry back to Agra. I need to pass on that. Thank you.
There was no tourist. I need money. No tourist, no business. Good luck for you and good luck for me. I really like to sell you something. There was no tourists here. I need money.
No, I'm not interested. No, I'm not interested at all. I'm sorry. Okay?
I need money because no tourists. 100 rupees is nothing. I give 8 for 100. This is like $2 American. You can gift your daughter, friend, sister. 100 rupees.
Thank you. I'm not interested. Where's the helicopter? I got to get easier shoes to get in and out of. These things will kill me in an escape mode. It's kind of scary here. I sometimes try to stay out of those situations. This one looks a little dire.
Can you leave the party plate? Hello. You understand? क्या बात हो गया? Get out from
I'm just lucky to be in here. It's been a trying morning as usual, even though we're located probably about 4 minutes from the dropping off point for the Taj. It took us 40 minutes just to get here with back and forth with our video camera equipment. And then getting the Globuscope in proved to be quite a challenge. Even though it had been in before, the main guard was denying that I could bring it in, and we had to talk to a higher up official, and it was just really hit and miss. It was just really difficult to do it. Luckily I found a guide just by happenstance who's helped us, who knew a little bit more and helped negotiate me getting in. So I'm just going to take as many pictures here as I can, as quickly as I can, before somebody else changes their mind. Kind of a poignant visit for me to the Taj. I've waited so many years to get back here, and I've spent 2.5 hours photographing all around all the different points of view, because this could be my last trip here. It was such a hassle getting the camera through this time. Who knows what future visits may hold. So hopefully I've got enough material for the World Atlas and for the future. Okay, you guys all gonna jump in and crazy? Ready? We'll see you guys. Bye-bye. I've always thought this brown stone with the white inlay is really magnificent. The amount of detail that goes even in the buildings that you're walking through to get to some of these places just has such great personality. Just as magnificent as the monuments themselves. Actually, they call this the Baby Taj, and even though the center building resembles the Taj in a certain sense, you've got the two mosques on both sides, mini mosques here, and all we need is a little wider in this reflecting pond, and could easily pass for a mini Taj. Well, the trip to India has been quite an ordeal. Of course, you come here to see the world-famous landmark, the Taj Mahal, which is truly spectacular. It's just dealing with all the bureaucracy that it takes to get down here. The amount of time spent traveling is huge. There is a nice payoff seeing the actual Taj and enjoying the views, but it again has been a trying ordeal just to get the shots. part of my mission in 360 has always been to show a view that you don't ordinarily see. And the Taj is that prime example of seeing just one picture. There's just one picture of the Taj, and yet the grounds are so spectacular. And my goal yesterday was to cover those grounds in as much depth as I possibly could to show off the rest of the beautiful area. You know, it's unfortunate that this country is apparently still that poor. I thought that the conditions had improved here in India, but you still see these 4-year-old, 5-year-old kids coming up, and they're asking for money, or they're asking for chocolate, or they're asking for pens. And you know, I thought that was something that you know, disappeared 10 years ago, but it's still alive and it's everywhere you go. And people are throwing babies in your face, asking for money, and I guess maybe it is that desperate here. Once the sun came out, I raced over to Schönbrunn Palace to take some photos. The palace is magnificent. On the other side of the palace, in the backyard, if you can call it a backyard, it's huge. There are offshoots, but flanking the palace is an area called the Gloriette, which is a large marble columned wall, and it's most impressive. It really figures into the story here of Schönbrunn Palace. What is really neat to have a panoramic camera in a place like this is that you capture the entire scope of it because it is so large. There is a huge hill with the Gloriette, which is a series of marble arches high on a hill flanking the palace on one end. On the other end, you've got the palace itself, and then you've got offshoots of mazes made out of shrubs and other gardens. The size and the scope of the European castles and palaces surpass anything that you'll find anywhere else. We live in such a world of contrasts. I was just in Delhi, India, and saw a city teeming with poverty. And the next day I'm here in Vienna, Austria, surrounded by opulent wealth. It amazes me the contrast that we see in our world. that was fun. We catch a little slice of life here in Bratislava. It does a 360-degree photograph.
Oh, that's cool.
So it goes all the way around and gets everything in.
So, hang on, where did you take a 360 of? All around there? Or up
Oh, you mean just now?
Yeah.
When I was doing the one going up this way, I was actually doing a vertical. So it was going up, getting the sky, and it was coming around and it was getting the other church on the other side.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it tells you a little bit about the camera on the back side there.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, see ya. Well, just driving into Prague, seeing all of the red roofs was quite interesting because so many other European cities are built up. So there's a lot more modern buildings interspersed with the old, and yet here there are huge pockets of this city that are just old buildings. Very visually appealing, very interesting. One of the challenges of taking pictures in Prague is the extremely tight quarters, especially of the old part of the city. Everything is built up incredibly close, so I'll really have to be looking for ways to maximize the space so that I don't cut off the tops of any important buildings. Right now it's at the beginning of tourist season, so of course shooting around tour groups is going to be a challenge, and to share the city with so many people, but that's why people come to Prague, is this very beautiful old world charm. We're at Terezin, a concentration camp just outside Prague. That was the main entrance. So if I was coming in as a prisoner, I walked through there, and then I would come down here. This is the This is the Jewish section right here. There were up to 60 men in this cell at one time. This, out of all of the buildings, has got the closest look of what this prison concentration camp actually looked like during that time. We're in the execution area here at Terezin, the concentration camp. Behind me you can see where the soldiers would line up to shoot the prisoners. The prisoners were lined up against this wall, against this mound, and then later they were actually even brought in closer. And then further over here we see the gallows where prisoners were hung. I've spent a lot of time photographing around the world, mostly beautiful and incredible spots. Today here at Terezin, I'm photographing a horrible past, still trying to bring part of that story that's part of the world that we live in. Right? So we don't... It's frustrating being a 360 photographer because you're challenged constantly of trying to create a full 360 that works. And in this case, at Belfast City Hall, I'm being challenged by an event, the Lord Mayor's Carnival, which is taking place this weekend. So they're dropping off event tents, giant electric generators, and so I'm losing the pristine shot that I traveled here to get. Part of what I'm doing is you are there photography. And sometimes that includes placing yourself in a position that you would be as if you were visiting the castle and resting on a beautiful day like today. So maybe not necessarily in a strategic position, but just a position that normal people would sit in to recreate that view from a park bench. Shooting 360s has taught me a great deal of patience, because when you go to an area like Giant's Causeway and there's tons of people there, you have to work around them. So oftentimes I sit, I enjoy the beautiful surroundings and drink in all the great scenery and wait for that moment that I can stand up and get my shot. The Globuscope has opened up many doors for me, and today it opened up the door to the London Eye. I ended up getting a special ride to the top of the London Eye in a private car, and that allowed me the opportunity to shoot my 360s in an environment that I wasn't fighting everyone, so that I could bring back these incredible images. When you're shooting panoramics, you like getting up high, and here the city's pretty flat, and the buildings go up 6 to 7 stories high, so being up on the London Eye gave that an additional perspective. I think a good virtual tour of London starts out with Big Ben, Houses of Parliament, of course Trafalgar Square's another famous spot, and then up to Piccadilly Circus. These are places that, when the average traveler thinks of London, come to mind. Piccadilly Square is the Times Square of London. It's also the entrance to the theater district. It draws a lot of tourists, but it also it's a signature shot. And whenever I think of London, I often think of the hubbub of Piccadilly Circus. It's hard shooting here in London because you've got the sun, and the sun is coming and going. And I like traditional sunny, bright shots instead of just constant overcast skies. So every opportunity I get as the sun peeks through, I go to work and shoot as many photos as I can. This trip to London's been very challenging for me. I've been out shooting, I've been stopped by police along the way, and I do realize there are security issues in this city, but there's also a level of access that I think that the public should have and that photographers should be able to have to capture this city on film. On this trip, I've concentrated in some specific areas of New York City. Battery City Park, a World War II memorial right at the water's edge overlooking the area pointing out towards the Statue of Liberty. And then Wall Street. A lot of Wall Street has changed because of 9/11, a lot more security. Ground Zero and the World Trade Center site. On the afternoon of September 11th, I came up with an idea because I was tired of seeing the planes crashing into the World Trade Center, and I thought that an entire generation of people would only know the World Trade Center by the photos of that horrible day. So I thought about my photo library and all the great shots that I had taken from the top of the World Trade Center towers, and I had a picture taken from the South Tower that featured the North Tower, the Statue of Liberty, and the Empire State Building in Midtown Manhattan, all shot from the South Tower of the World Trade Center. I thought it would make a great poster. And part of it was I also wanted to give back to the people who had helped with the rescue and with the retrieval of the remains, to give them a positive picture to remember 9/11 by. So 6 weeks later, I was at Ground Zero distributing 15,000 pictures with the help of the Red Cross as a special thank you to the people who came to the aid of those in need. And another 15,000 of those posters I donated to the Red Cross so that they could sell them for $25 each, and they could keep the entire $25 to give to the World Trade Center Disaster Fund for the survivors' families. I just really wanted something good to come out of all of this horrible devastation, and also to leave the world with a positive image of the World Trade Center. Well, when I was here walking around the rubble and getting an opportunity to shoot a photo to record it for history, It was hard to believe I was actually standing on the ground, almost at the same point, but 100 plus floors on ground at ground zero, retaking the same shot that I'd taken 9 months before from the very top of the South Tower. So it was a very eerie experience, a very sad experience for me. It seems like the easy part is creating the photograph. In between, it's all of the passport control, the customs, loading luggage, subways, taxis, checking into hotels, checking out of hotels, getting private drivers and guides to take me to the places that I need to be, and also to get there at the right time of day. And then taking the photo and working my way back home. I've been on the road 33 days. Tomorrow will be day 34. Time to go home, get the film developed, see the results of another trip around the world, and hurry and get these images scanned so they can get into this current edition of the Atlas. I've just got all the film back from the lab, and it appears that everything on this around the world trip has turned out. I was so worried that I'd lost 2 weeks worth of work and the possibility of the x-rays ruining it. I just got very, very lucky that it's all here. You know, over the years, as I sit and I catalog these images and look at them, I like to pull out my favorites. And I often think what will happen to these images 100 or 200 years from now. And I think it's cool, because I think that since they're not merely just snapshots, since they're virtual worlds, they're full 360-degree images, that through virtual reality technology, people will be able to go back and look at these virtual worlds almost like little time capsules and be able to experience the world that we've lived in, to learn from it, to enjoy the history of it, and to see what the world was really like at this point in time.